It's hard to believe it's been 4 years since the last major iPhone redesign. The iPhone 12 back in 2020 paved the way for the iPhone design all the way up to the upcoming iPhone 16. But next year with the iPhone 17, we're about to see the biggest redesign since not just the iPhone 12, but actually the biggest since the iPhone 10. Let's talk about it. First, let me give you some background info. In 2017, to celebrate 10 years of iPhone, Apple announced the iPhone 10, featuring a radical new design with no home button. As Tim Cook said, this design set the path for technology for the next decade, and every generation of iPhones since then has been evolving since this drastic redesign of the iPhone 10. Of course, we've seen some major changes since the iPhone 10. In 2019, the iPhone 11 Pro introduced an all-new camera design and redesigned back glass that we're still using today 5 years later. In 2020, the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro introduced the all-new flat-edge design that we still use today. And most recently in 2023, the iPhone 15 Pro introduced an all-new titanium frame replacing stainless steel. For the iPhone 16, we've seen the new design, and we know that aside from a new camera bump design for the regular models, the design will remain mostly the same this year. But next year, with the iPhone 17, things will be very different. Let's first talk about the models that won't be too different from what we're getting this year. The regular iPhone 17 will feature a similar design to the iPhone 16. But we'll see a larger 6.3-inch display from the iPhone 16 Pro. And yes, 120Hz ProMotion and always-on display are finally coming to the standard iPhone 17, along with some other refinements like the A19 chip, a better 24-megapixel front camera, and a 48-megapixel ultra-wide camera on the back. The iPhone 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max are expected to see a smaller dynamic island with Face ID components going under the display now, along with, again, some smaller refinements, such as the A19 Pro chip with 12GB of RAM, 24-megapixel front camera, 48-megapixel resolution on all three rear cameras, including the telephoto now, and potentially a 2TB storage option. So those are the iPhone 17 models that will be playing it pretty safe. But you might have noticed that there's one model missing from that lineup, the iPhone 17 Plus. Well, unfortunately, the Plus model is going away next year. The iPhone 14 Plus and 15 Plus only accounted for about 5 to 10% of iPhone sales. And while we will still see an iPhone 16 Plus, this year is expected to be the last hurrah for the Plus model iPhone. So what is it going to be replaced by? Well, before you ask, no, it's not a new iPhone mini. I know a lot of you, including me, would love to see a new iPhone mini, but unfortunately that doesn't look to be the case. Instead, we're getting an all-new iPhone 17 model that will be a drastic departure from the usual iPhone design, the iPhone 17 Air. This device will be unlike any iPhone made before, as this device is expected to be focused on being incredibly thin. The new M4 iPad Pro has shown us that Apple can not only make an incredibly thin device, but an incredibly thin device that's even more durable than its predecessor. We don't know exactly how thin the iPhone 17 Air will be, but judging by how thin the 2024 iPad Pro is, Apple could go pretty thin. Most likely even thinner than the iPhone 6, the current thinnest iPhone ever made. And that name, iPhone 17 Air, is currently tentative. We could see Apple go for something like iPhone 17 Slim or iPhone 17 Ultra, but currently Mark Gurman, along with many other people, refer to this device as iPhone 17 Air. This device is expected to feature a 6.6-inch display and a similar dynamic island to what we have right now. The frame of this device is expected to be a hybrid titanium and aluminum design, and it's expected to feature the A19 chip from the standard iPhone 17, not A19 Pro, and it's expected to feature Apple's own custom 5G modem. This modem may come to the iPhone SE 4 first earlier in 2025, but it should also make its way to the iPhone 17 Air. But now the most interesting part of this device, the camera. Apple was one of the earliest adopters of multiple cameras on a smartphone, going all the way back to the iPhone 7 Plus in 2016. And every single flagship iPhone since the iPhone 11 has had at least dual cameras. Well, for the iPhone 17 Air, Apple's actually going back to just one single camera. The first flagship level iPhone since the iPhone 6S to have a single camera. This is due to Apple prioritizing form over function for this device. But also, Apple's going to do something they've never done before in the history of the iPhone design. Every single iPhone model for nearly 18 years now has placed its camera setup in the top left corner of the device. But now, the iPhone 17 Air will place its camera on the top center now. Apple is actually prototyping this for the iPhone 11 back in 2019, but that was ultimately scrapped for what we have right now. My personal guess is something similar to the Pixel 9 camera visor, and this design may ultimately pave the way for the iPhone design for years to come. But I know what you're thinking. With a thin device, that must mean battery life must be compromised. Well, Apple is looking to figure that out as well. For years, Apple is looking at next-generation battery technology to replace the current lithium-ion batteries we have right now. These new batteries are called solid-state batteries, or SSBs. These batteries have a significantly higher energy density than the existing lithium-ion batteries used in almost every Apple product today. So this could possibly mean that the thinnest iPhone ever could have the longest battery of any iPhone ever, but it's unclear on when this battery technology will be available and if it'll be on the iPhone 17 Air. What seems more likely is that Apple has been testing stacked battery technology as well. This still uses the traditional lithium-ion battery technology, but with stacked layers rather than the sort of cinnamon roll design of current lithium-ion batteries. This would not only increase battery capacity, but also increase battery efficiency, enabling longer lifespan for these batteries and maybe even faster charging. This was rumored for the iPhone 15 and iPhone 16, but we've not heard it rumored recently for the iPhone 16, so it may have been pushed to the iPhone 17 Air, but we'll have to see. But whatever battery technology Apple uses, it'll come at a cost. According to Ice Universe, the iPhone 17 Air could start at a super high $1,300 price, the most expensive starting price for an iPhone ever. This will most likely be due to this device featuring some new technology like those new batteries never used before in any smartphone. So of course, that's going to come at a major cost. To me, this device sounds very similar to the original 2008 MacBook Air. That machine sacrificed a lot to become the thinnest notebook in the world at the time. It removed the optical drive for the first time ever on a MacBook. It used an Intel Core 2 Duo chip with a very terrible thermal system, and it was the first Mac with SSDs, but it was an extremely expensive upgrade option. And it came with a 1.8-inch 4200 RPM iPod hard drive as the standard, which was painfully slow. And all of that was priced at $17.99 starting price. $700 more than the faster white plastic MacBook at the time, and really close to the 15-inch MacBook Pro at the time. But even though it was expensive, slow, and removed many basic notebook features at the time, it completely changed the way we look at notebooks today. A similar argument could be made for the 12-inch MacBook as well, and probably many more Apple products. And I feel like that's going to be the case for the iPhone 17 Air. It'll be expensive, it'll only have one camera, and it won't have pretty much any pro features. But I think it's going to usher in the next chapter for the smartphone, just like how the MacBook Air ushered in the next chapter for the notebook. In fact, Apple is already looking into packing all the pro features into this Air body. That probably won't come until 2027 at the earliest, but it's very likely that the iPhone 17 Air will pave the way for that Pro device. That's just what I think. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments. One last thing I want to mention. I keep seeing people think that they should skip the iPhone 16 in favor for the iPhone 17. For that, I'm going to say enjoy the iPhone 16 for what it is, because there's always going to be something better down the road. If you're in the market for a new iPhone, then wait for the iPhone 16. You don't need to wait a whole year just based on what we're saying right now. If you do want to wait, then go ahead. But if you can't wait, then just buy the iPhone 16 when it comes out and enjoy the hell out of it. So that's what to expect from the iPhone 17, 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max, and this all-new iPhone 17 Air. What do you think about this new device? And would you pay more for a cooler-looking iPhone? Let me know down below in the comments.